Feel Good Friday. Let's kick off the weekend and have a little fun, shall we? And thanks to Jerry and the boys, I got some stuff to talk about. So the Cowboys held their first training camp practice Thursday without star wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. While Dak Prescott was in attendance, we all know Dak is playing on the last year of his deal. Jerry Jones, your move.
I do not think that this will be his last year with the Cowboys at all. Am I being psychotic relative to my mirror? No. It's pretty clear, I think. I want to say it if it hadn't been clear, of how much we appreciate what Dak Prescott has meant to this team in a positive way. But believe it or not, in my life, I've had a lot of things I wanted that I couldn't get because I couldn't afford it. Now, have I learned to live with that in 80-something years? You bet I have, and life does go on. And sometimes when you get a bump like that, you turn around and do better than you would have had you got what you wanted.
Well. So much to unpack. Herm's face is exceptional right now. Joe, you're up first. What do you think? Will this be Dak's last year in Dallas? And feel free to react to the sound you just heard there.
As you know, I'm not much of a betting man. So
Okay.
If we were to think it through, I'd be betting this is the last year in Dallas. When you've got your guy, that's not how you talk about him. Could you imagine Kansas City talking about Mahomes that way? Could you even imagine the Detroit Lions talking about Jared Goff that way? The idea that, we appreciate what he's done, can't tell the future. Jerry's been telling everyone all offseason exactly what's going to happen. He's all in, right? Mm-hmm. All in. We've heard it all offseason. Everyone's made their jokes. Everyone said, well, if you're all in, how come you're not doing this? Because they're misinterpreting the definition of all in. When you're all in, you've shoved all your chips into the center. Nothing more you can do except play out the hand. Problem is, when you go all in, you want to make sure you have the best of it. You're going to beat the opponent. The odds are in your favor. And for Jerry, he doesn't have that. He's looking to catch a card on the flop. He's looking to catch a card on the turn. He's looking to catch a card on the river. The reality is, there's only one way Prescott's coming back. And that ain't happening this year. So in my opinion, if I'm making a bet on this, this is the final year in Dallas because I don't see this being a very good year for the Cowboys.
I mean, listen, I've been saying this all year. First of all, we need to check if Mike McCarthy blink 2 times if you've been held hostage. We talk about, I'm just at the table so I don't get fined. He looked so uncomfortable because they essentially made him a lame duck coach as well. But about time, we've always talked about how easy the Dallas Cowboys have it as far as atmosphere. We talk about they're not being comfortable. When football is all about being comfortable with being uncomfortable, be comfortable being uncomfortable. And the fact that now these guys have applied, Jerry Jones has applied pressure to them, I think is a good thing because it forces Dak Prescott, yes, you're a good quarterback. Yes, you have a winning record in the regular season. But we talk about guys and immortalized guys that overcome adversity. And Dak Prescott has given you just what you expect them to give you, right? A good performance, good, not great. Too often we've watched Dak Prescott fall short between Jared Goff, playing Jimmy G, Brock Purdy, Jordan Love. All quarterbacks that we think are decent and ascending, but Dak Prescott is touted as being a better quarterback than them. So essentially, Jerry Jones is saying, listen, I'm not getting my money's worth. And listen, why would I give you $60 million, $300 million over 5 years, or even more, and all I'm going to get is maybe a playoff win? I'm not going to the NFC. I'm not going to the NFC Championship. So this is saying, okay, listen, Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, you guys are tied together. If you guys figure it out, because Jerry Jones, the general manager, you can say whatever you want to say. He's been extremely disciplined. He's fought the urges to go for the splash type of signings, and what he's done is put together, in my opinion, still one of the best rosters in all of football. And eventually, if I pay all these guys and we don't win, what's going to happen when DeMarcus Lawrence isn't there because he's a cap casualty? Zach Martin, who had to hold out briefly to get a new contract last year, is a cap casualty. If I can't win with arguably one of the best guards of a generation and 2 of the best pair of pass rushers, then how do I think by taking those 2 players away and paying these guys, I'm gonna get a better result? That's the definition of insanity, to do the same thing and expect a different result. So Jerry Jones saying, listen, y'all figure it out. I'll start over from scratch because guess what? I wasn't afraid to move on from Tony Romo, who I found as a free agent. And guess what? Dak, I found you in the third round as well. Yeah. So I've done this before. And the reason that you had that early success is because you were a cheap quarterback, and I was able to put great players around you. I had to trade for Amari Cooper, right? So life goes on with or without you, and Dak in turn said, the same is true for you as well.
It doesn't help that the Niners are going to the Super Bowl with a quarterback who's barely making $1 million a year.
And Jordan Love as well. It has happened with Jordan Love.
But yeah, both gentlemen have made great points when you think about the Dallas Cowboys. And you're right. You mentioned Tony Romo. Dak has kind of fell into that mode of being the guy like Tony Romo. And it's tough when you've played as good as Dak Prescott has played. He threw 36 touchdowns last year. This offense was scoring 29 points. They have stars on both sides of the football. But his playoff record is 2 wins. That's it. This team does not play well when it gets to the playoffs. They've won 36 football games, 36, as much as the Kansas City Chiefs. The only problem is the Kansas City Chiefs have won 2 Super Bowls with those 36 wins. So if you're the Dallas Cowboys and you're Dak Prescott, you get it. You're in your 9th season. You're looking at this going, you know what? I hear what Jerry's saying, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bet on myself. And I'm going to have a better year. I'm going to get this team in the playoffs, win some playoff games, and then, you know what? I might want to leave. I might leave this place because I don't need this anymore. So it's going to be kind of interesting to watch these Dallas Cowboys again. They will fight Philadelphia to win this division when they get in the playoffs. Can you win just 1 playoff game? You let the Green Bay Packers with a young quarterback come into your stadium and beat you.
McCarthy is not capable of covering for Prescott's deficiencies. Prescott is not capable of covering for McCarthy's deficiencies. As a result, the relationship can only go so far. Look at what McVay was able to accomplish with Jared Goff, right? He was able to take him very far, bring in Stafford, upgrade at the position, win a Super Bowl. These two together, it just doesn't work.
See, just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it isn't possible and it can't happen. Dak Prescott is still a quarterback that's learning as well. I know he's in his 9th year, but every year you add something to your game, and he has to figure out how to get over that threshold. What he can't do, what we can't see, is him falter in the biggest moments. Last year, it was apparent that they weren't going to win the game. In the first quarter, when you saw that glazed look over his eyes and that glazed look over CeeDee Lamb's eyes, that the moment was too big. So maybe he can lean on experience and he can get back to that same spot because, we used to say that Jason Tatum couldn't get over the big hump and he figured it out. So we only say that until you do. And when you do, you'll get all those accolades and everything that come to you. I'm not going to say that he's not capable. This still is a very good football team, but they need their quarterback to be a force multiplier and come up big in those moments. Patrick Mahomes wasn't supposed to go into Baltimore against the number 1 defense, against the reigning MVP and get it done. That's why we call him one of the GOATs. That's why he's been elevated. And Dak Prescott, until he does that, deserves to be a quarterback with an uncertain future.
Yeah, before we move on, I just want to say one thing. I feel like he currently is the quarterback, and you got to rock with who you've got. I don't appreciate Jerry Jones saying that. Like, this is who your quarterback is.
This is negotiating, Molly.
But
this is the only leverage that Jerry Jones has.
But publicly negotiating, when obviously your quarterback seemed a little shaky in terms of confidence in the playoffs. You have him this year. You have a solid team. You can make a run. There's other ways to do that.
Does that undermine Prescott's leadership in the locker room when the owner talks like that?
Not at all. Not at all. Did it do that when Joe Flacco bet on himself and won the Super Bowl and MVP? And he cashed in the chips, right?
But
he was all in.
He consistently does that.
Let me get into
Jerry Jones consistently undermines Dak. It's like Jekyll and Hyde back and forth, and you hear the things that Harbaugh is saying about Lamar Jackson, and I realize Lamar Jackson just got paid. It's an entirely different deal, but I'm saying this is who you currently have. So either support him, and leave that nonsense. You're heading into a new season. There's no reason to say that right now than to stir the pot and to draw up headlines. It doesn't help his team on the field in any way.
He's given Dak all his roses. And for 9 years, it has happened. Go ahead.
Herm, you tell me. I mean, obviously you played, but you coached too.
Molly, you're making a great point, but I think Jerry's at the point now that he's tired of playing all his stars, and they're not producing in playoff situations, right? In playoffs, because this team now is a legitimate contender every year, and he gets that. But his stars have fallen short. They played very dim in playoff competition. And it's not just Dak. It's all of them. Bart knows this, but Bart's a former player. He understands the mindset you got to have when you enter the playoffs as a player. You play all season to get into the playoffs. Why? Because now you're in the tournament. You get a chance to maybe go to the Super Bowl and be a world's champion. These players, and Bart said it earlier, it's Camelot in Dallas. They act like they've already won. They got stars in the stadium. They got stars on their uniform. It's kind of like, yeah, man, 1995. 1995 is the last time these guys went to and won the championship. You know what I mean? Look, 1995 is a long time last time I checked.
Yeah, you heard Emmitt Smith with some comments that these guys are riding our success and walking around strutting their stuff and got the chest out like a peacock and they ain't did nothing, right? And even some of the veterans are I mean, they go to Oxnard. I mean, it's California, nice and breezy, nice and comfortable, man. I'll keep them in Texas.
Bitter.
I keep them in Texas like the Junction Boys. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no water.
Let me ask you this. So Herm said he thinks they're legit contenders. I want both of your thoughts on that. Do you feel like this squad is?
Yeah, I believe so. Like when you talk about, look at the matchup. They have two of the best pass rushers, and it's tied in with two great cornerbacks as well. I think Eric Kendricks is going to help them out because now you don't have to worry about moving Michael Parsons to the middle because, Kendricks is a former Pro Bowler. He still plays at a high level. They have arguably one of the best guards of all football. They have a top 5 receiver. You got an MVP candidate at quarterback. It's not a lot of teams that can make that statement and can make that claim. But the problem is, and listen, I played against the Dallas Cowboys, never lost to them, and we always believed that once it got tough, they would fold. We always believed that they were front runners because life was so easy for them, right? So we always thought we took them to deep water that they would fold, and quite often they did whenever in my experience. And that, whether they want to accept that or not, that's something that's gone around the league for a long time.
I don't see it. All great points. I don't see it as a true contender. I'd ask myself the first question, if this team's a contender, are you capable of winning a minimum of 3, maximum of 4 playoff games against above average to elite competition? And this is not a group that answers that question in the affirmative because at some point along that way, they're going to fall flat. A couple years ago, they're running down the field against the Niners. They run out of time. They just completely run out of time. Tough spot. We've seen them play competitively in the playoffs. The Niner game a few years ago when they were in San Francisco. We've seen them get blown out in the playoffs. But if you're not grabbing that 1 seed, which still means 3 big wins, you're going to need to win 4 games. I don't trust Mike McCarthy to win 4 consecutive games against good coaches. I don't trust Dak Prescott to put together 4 good performances in a row with the Chiefs most likely waiting for you at the end of the line.
I want to piggyback on that thought you just said. And Herm, I want your opinion on this specifically because I'm curious when we talk about the lack of postseason success with the Dallas Cowboys, how much of that are you putting on Dak and these players to get over the hump? And how much of that are you putting on the coaching and the play calling? Because there's quite a few years, most undisciplined team in the league.
Great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. And look, I'm going to take my coach's hat off.
Okay.
And I'm going to be the player now. And actually, I played in the National Football League. I felt that when we got to the playoffs, nothing really changes. Your offense doesn't change. Your defense doesn't change. The calls that you had before, they don't change on offense or defense. You make some adjustments. That's about it. This belongs to the players. And I say this as a former player.